That Don't Sound Right is a podcast about talking the way we did before the internet.
When you could not prove anyone right or wrong, all the expertise was contained in the people involved in the conversation.
We hope you enjoy our conversations. And as you listen, if you find yourself silently saying, "That don't sound right," send us a comment. You're one of us.
Today it hit me. You are being avant-garde, edgy, even a little metal. Meta. Welcome back to another episode of That Don't Sound Right, a podcast about talking. We're your co-hosts. I'm Peter Billman.
I'm Cecil Davis.
And we're trying to have a conversation without using Google or fact-checking each other. Those things can so easily kill the conversation.
And you know what's killed the conversation for me this week?
The frigid temperatures?
The bitter cold that we've been living in for.
Bitter cold, Cecil says.
So if you don't live in our vicinity, if you're one of our international listeners, it's been cold.
Yeah, I mean,
unusually cold.
Yeah, I think today was in Celsius -2.
Really?
Yeah.
So
it's been below freezing pretty much all day, and we got we didn't get any snow really, but it's been cold enough to snow.
Yeah. And it's in North Carolina, normally you have a few days of cold and then it warms back up, but we've had 2 solid weeks of cold.
I'm happy to say that this cold weather should kill all the weeds, kill all the bugs. So when the spring comes, my African violets and clover and chickweed should be dead.
And we were talking about that this week, weren't we?
Yeah.
How to get rid of that.
Just the other day, how do you get those African violets out of your yard? And you do it the manual way. You pick them out.
Pick them out.
That's impressive.
Right. Or you do it by the almanac, which I think we're going to do.
You do it by what?
The almanac, the moon signs in the almanac.
I don't think that's going to help you. Do you have an almanac? Do you buy a farmer's almanac every year?
Not anymore.
You used to, though.
Yeah.
Because you wanted to be a farmer in Cary.
So I want to be a farmer.
This is not the Cary Cecil buying the almanac. Right. This is Bizarro Cecil.
Now that I think about it, I think I had an almanac every year because my granddad had one.
Okay.
Which makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
You come from a long line of farmers.
Yeah. So the one who was lived in Blamer, CA, he was the one that had the almanac.
I've never really read one or through one.
They're very unusual things. You should pick one up and look at it.
All right.
Because they have a lot of planting by the signs in there, when to plant, that kind of stuff. It's very interesting.
I really need some help in my garden.
Well, maybe the almanac is for you.
Maybe we're going to try it this year. I'm down to, getting old documents and I'm going to try to get something to grow in my garden.
Yeah, almanacs to me were always a little bizarre. Well, tonight we have got a mailbag episode.
Welcome back to the mailbag. Let's get out that mailbag and see what we got here. So now this is a little, I think I told you, this is a little early for a mailbag episode in terms of the amount of time that's gone by. The last mailbag episode we had was number 162.
Oh, it wasn't that long ago.
No, it's not.
But
this will be number 175.
Our volume of mail has been such that I feel like it's time to do one.
Well, we should go ahead and do that. And I agree. So I've got us lined up some interesting emails that people have written back to us and maybe some more things to bring up. But we'll try to stay within our allotted time.
Thank you for doing all that work.
In podcast time, we try to allot it. So your commute or your walk outside will wrap up when we wrap up. We don't want anyone to have to drive too far or walk too long.
For the record, Peter did all the work for this podcast. I did none of the work. In fact, I even forgot my book, my podcasting book.
It'll be very interesting at the end when Cecil has to get the credits. Hey, but let's kick it off with, it's always good to kick it off with listener number 1's emails. He sent one talking about episode 159. So this actually goes before the last mailbag. We didn't get to do his particular letter on this one, but it's on negative feedback. Mm-hmm. You remember the negative feedback episode?
Yes. We were talking about negative feedbacks in nature that shut down particular systems. And this one was the binding of nitrogen in plant roots.
Right. And how you thought that was just plainly a bad idea.
To turn that off.
To turn that off, right. And I think we all agree with you. Scott agreed with you. But however, he noticed something. He noticed something about this particular episode. He says, you guys almost had me. I almost fell for your near perfectly executed ruse.
Huh.
While listening to a little negative feedback, I was thinking what you wanted me to think. That you forgot to edit the podcast. Today it hit me. You were being avant-garde, edgy, even a little metal. Meta.
Huh.
You're creating your own negative feedback loop by enticing negative feedback from your audience. You lower expectations with your self-deprecating humor, your folksy just a country boy from Cary demeanor and conversation, and certainly sounds like it is both uninformed and spontaneous. But in reality, we are all part of some social engineering experiment. And trust me, I'm going to keep listening until I figure out what it is. I may even listen to the entire library backwards. Possibly there's a code hidden in the banter that will reveal your true intentions.
In addition, man, listener number one, he writes a really good letter. He's emailer number one, too.
Yeah, he does. He puts a lot of work in these emails. But
Scott, if we were only that sophisticated, I can tell you the secret behind that episode.
Go ahead and tell us.
I uploaded the wrong file. There was an unedited file and an edited file, and normally the only edited file is the MP3. But because of the way I had edited this particular episode, I'd ended up with 2 MP3s. And I just mistakenly uploaded the unedited MP3.
Which he thought you were seeing if anyone would even notice.
And I quickly rectified that error, but he was one of the few listeners that got to hear the unedited version.
Well, what happens is if you have it on automatic download, it's going to download the first thing that pops up. So when you go in there and fix it, if you don't go refresh it, it's going to hold on, like Apple Podcasts will hold on to that original MP3, and you'll listen to it forever.
Sorry, Scott. Yeah, well, I wish we were that sophisticated, but we were not.
Well, I was going to let them run a little bit longer on that, but that's fine. You can let the cat out of the bag. So let's jump to episode 161. Be good, wasp bad. Now, what is it? Remind us about something, this particular skill or attraction you have to bees.
No, I don't like seeing insects.
But bees specifically, there's something about you and bees.
I don't know what you're...
You always get stung.
Oh, yeah. No, I do get stung.
I mean, if there's a bee's nest...
I do get stung.
You're going to walk by it, you're going to get stung.
I've gotten stung.
If it's in your neighbor's yard, they're going to come out...
Or at least have a fear that I have of...
They're going to come out and sting you. Well, Brad writes, I often earned the title of bee finder while working on my grandparents' farm. They raised blueberries and blackberries. There was always grass to mow and bushes to trim around. Funny how customers would come and pick berries, and although they may disturb the yellow jackets, I would be the one getting stung. Sound familiar?
It's no fun being a bee magnet.
No.
Or a stinging insect magnet.
No.
It's going away a little bit in my older age, but...
Well, we'll see. You know, we talked about the phenomenon of how many bees we were seeing. I'm hoping that this frost or this really cold weather is really going to put especially on the yellow jacket, it's going to freeze them out. Because they've been, the past 5 years, it's been warm out. So my hope is they haven't been going too deep because they really haven't had to. So they've been staying kind of shallow over the wintertime. Yeah. But now, boom, we're freezing them. They're not deep enough. Hopefully, we're just frozen the whole colony of these yellow jackets. Now, honeybees, I hope they make it.
You're putting a lot of pressure on this year's freeze. But the ground is frozen.
You got to admit, it's cold enough to do such things.
I've just been hoping that my engine block doesn't freeze on the Ranchera. I've been checking it every
day. What kind of water do you have in there?
It's got a little color to it, so I'm okay.
Maybe add a little more color.
Yeah, it's got enough color. So far, I've been okay.
I mean, that's really why you do it.
Yeah.
Especially in those old engines. You just don't want it to freeze. Yeah. Bad things happen.
Yeah. Freeze bad.
Hey, so episode 163, trading cards. You remember this one?
Yes.
This is about gift cards.
Yes, trading cards.
And we were really wondering about, are gift cards an appropriate gift in this day and age?
And there was this one had a lot of feedback. We got feedback from several people.
Well, the biggest feedback was our question, how do you account for a gift card as a business?
We had an accountant write in, didn't we?
I had
the accountant.
I had two accountants write in. Bill, from where I work, and then Michael, also the accountant.
Yes.
They both sent lots of information, even a link to another article. And so basically, here's Bill's account of it. From an accountant, you recognize the income on the gift card when the services are rendered, not when the gift card is purchased. Gift card accounting works like this. You sell the gift card. You receive the cash. You record a liability on the balance sheet. You do not record revenue at the time that you sell the gift card. It's a liability. And that represents the fact that you owe someone merchandise of a certain value that they can redeem anytime.
Now, did Michael agree with that?
This is Michael.
Oh, that is Michael.
Yeah, and this was also Bill.
So they both agreed.
They both agreed, yes. Now, if the gift card reaches its expiration date and isn't redeemed, then you get to remove the liability and claim the revenue. If your gift card doesn't have an expiration date, then the accounting gets a little more interesting because you can reasonably assume that some of the gift cards won't be redeemed. And then you use various accounting estimates to record a portion of the gift card balances over a certain age as revenue. All that said, gift cards are still great for businesses because they get the cash. Cash is king. And because so many of them are never redeemed and are eventually counted as revenue.
I still think it's crazy that we take something that's universally accepted, cash, and turn it into something that's only accepted at one store.
Isn't it genius? Someone come up with a genius.
That's almost as genius as Starbucks is.
We did not come up with that.
No.
Hey, let's go to episode 164. Don't yawn.
This had a lot of feedback too.
It did. Our first email we got was from Pat.
Our friend Pat.
Friend Pat. And she didn't really write an email. It's just the title that says horses yawn. So she was backing up the question we had. Do animals yawn? What animals yawn? Have you seen animals yawn? And well, horses yawn, according to Pat. Brad writes, dude, I yawned 8 times listening to that episode.
I yawned during the episode.
He does have.
No, I didn't yawn during the episode.
No, you
kept
didn't.
trying
to make you yawn. Maybe you'll yawn right now. How's it going?
I'm good so far.
Okay, all right. Brad had the same question about the act of laughing. He thinks it's a part of a sense. It's a reaction to some overload of brain activity. But what's happening mechanically in the body? How is it that you can laugh so hard sometimes that your sides hurt? Is it good for you? Maybe like you can strengthen your abs just by laughing.
They say laughter is the best medicine. Reader's Digest says that.
Reader's Digest.
I used to say that.
Is that also quoted in the Farmer's Almanac, as I'm wondering?
I think we could get 3 or 4 episodes out of a Farmer's Almanac.
Vern also writes about the yawning episode. He just says, go watch an episode of the TV show House. I've never watched House. Have you ever watched House?
I've watched House.
So season 3, episode 22. And I went and tried to read. I read a synopsis of the episode. I couldn't figure out what was going on. So I guess we're just going to have to watch it.
Do you know what the premises of the show is?
I really don't. Well, the guy's he's a doctor.
He's a doctor, but he gets like the strangest of the strange cases.
Are those called zebras?
I don't know. And then he figures them out by the end of the episode.
Okay, so he gets the strange.
There's usually some guy. It's like a medical Sherlock Holmes thing.
So we had another email on this one. This is from Blake. So this is the son of our international brand ambassador.
Okay.
Blake is at the United States Air Force Academy.
That is double impressive.
And so you know how there's some people or some kids that grow up and do things and you are just so impressed, Cecil.
Yeah.
So Blake is that guy for me because I wanted to go there.
Oh, that's right. You did. Yeah.
I wanted to go there. He's there.
He's there.
I'm so impressed.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
It's very impressive.
I can't wait to hear what he does. But he and I are the same. At least when I was his age, He writes this. I've noticed I yawn the most in church, but not when I'm sitting. I always yawn during songs.
Really?
And not even the slow songs, but a lot of times it's during the songs I love singing. But the urge to yawn comes over me and I can't fight it. And I remember when I was in high school, I would always yawn uncontrollably during singing.
Really?
Unbelievable. My mom and dad would look at me and just give me the stink eye. Why are you yawning? This is sing. I don't know why I'm yawning. I don't know why I'm yawning. I don't yawn anymore when I sing, but he did.
Maybe it's a youth thing.
Maybe so. I have no idea, but he and I are the same. But he got to go to the Air Force Academy. I didn't. And then this one also, he talked about episode number 165, chicken.
Right. This was one of my favorite episodes.
This was a crazy story, Cecil. What's the crazy story?
The crazy story in that episode was I was on a bus. It was a junior high bus.
School
bus driven by a high schooler.
Well, that's the first crazy part. High schoolers are driving middle.
I told another buddy of mine this week that I work with. He drove the school bus during high school.
Yeah, nutty bananas.
But they did a game of chicken with the two school buses on a one-way street, basically.
So Blake writes this. He says, I feel like any talk of chicken is incomplete with this variant. Kissing. You get two guys or two girls, and they have to kiss. But whoever backs out first is the chicken. This isn't like a real kiss, but your lips may brush, and everyone thinks it's super scandalous.
I've never heard
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I've not heard of that game of chicken before. I noticed that we've done a lot of chicken-related material.
Well, we still have to talk about chickens eating meat.
No, I'm looking forward to that.
We are. We're going to listen number one on his chicken. Why is that?
We're a chicken-heavy podcast.
Well, chicken-heavy, car-heavy, outdoor adventure-heavy.
Yes, but we've done a lot of chicken material.
Interesting. We probably need to maybe do a website of just chicken episodes.
Chicken episodes.
So Josh wrote in about the Happy Birthday Dad episode. He writes, your dad sounds a bit like my dad. He also worked in a heavy production facility and was one of those gentle giants that would stand his ground.
So I want to make another comment on that episode.
Yeah.
We'll
recap that episode.
That episode was just, I told 4 stories about my dad just from his life. The way you described working in a heavy manufacturing plant, as you were describing, I was like, he is nailing this. And then my brother listened to the episode and he said, man, he really nailed what it was like working at Airglass. I was like, I know, he'd been in a plant, obviously.
I've been in a plant, yeah. It's a hazardous, treacherous, perilous place.
If you haven't listened to that episode, it's worth it. I mean, I think it's worth it because I talk about Dad, but it's worth it to hear Peter's description of a
167
heavy manufacturing plant. The peril that waits around every single corner. The other piece in a heavy manufacturing plant like that is the amount of razor sharp steel that you can be cut on at any time.
Oh, no doubt.
Big steel plates just laying around waiting to be formed.
So my son Jack, he works he has done internships, and actually it'll be his full-time job here when he graduates, but at a big heavy manufacturing facility. And the standard uniform for engineers up there are khakis and a polo shirt, and usually with the name of the company on there. And he had hanging up in his living room a pair of those khakis that had this massive gash right through the thigh.
Yeah.
It's where he walked and he brushed up against one of these metal plates.
Yeah.
And it grabbed his pants and just puts this major gash in it. And he wrote something funny about some kind of safety violation.
Yeah. He's actually fortunate he didn't do that to his leg.
Well, yeah, it didn't get all the way down to the meat.
A lot of people wear this stuff now as fashion statements, but the reason we have canvas clothing and heavy boots is that it's safety, because you're in that metal can get you at any point in time.
Oh, right.
Just like he said, he was just walking by and he happened to brush up against it. And if you've never been in one of these plants, I mean, the metal rolls in, it's just big, huge sheets.
Big coils.
Yeah, big coils of metal, big sheets of metal, big rods of metal. and it has to be formed, and it's razor, like the edges can be razor sharp.
Moving on to 168. 168 was fun. And that is a kangaroo walks into a bar. And really, we were talking about roadkill and animals jumping in front of you. We talked about, I think one of the things we also talked about were those little whistles.
Yeah, the deer whistles.
The deer whistles. Have you heard about what happens if you put them on backwards?
You told me what to do.
What happens when you put a deer whistle on backwards on the front of your car? So these deer whistles, they look like small little trumpets, and the air blows, and they're hollow, and the air blows through.
Put them on backwards, they attract deer.
When you put them on backwards, the deer follow you.
Yeah, no, you told me that.
Well, so Bill also sent us some cool pictures of some Mack trucks.
This was to prove the rhubarb.
There's the rhubarb right there. I mean, look at that thing.
Yeah, no,
that is a serious rhubarb.
I believe you. And I believed you before, but now I have photographic
I don't know if you noticed on the picture, Cecil, but the trucks in Australia, they run in such dusty environments. They want to keep the air clean. So they have snorkels. That's the intake. The air goes into the engine above the cab, gets sucked into the engine.
That's smart.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, that's really smart. So we're looking at a picture of is that a Volvo?
That's a Mack.
That's a Mack. With, instead of having the normal intake through the front of the truck, the intakes are elevated almost above the cab.
You can look at it on our website, thatdon'tsoundright.com. I put that picture on there.
Yeah.
You can see the black boxes that sit up high, and those are the snorkels to keep the dirty air from going in. What made you laugh about this episode?
Just the rhubarb.
That's the rhubarb.
That just made it. And just to let you in a little secret of the podcast, I am secretly very proud of my titles sometimes, and I was very happy with this title.
A kangaroo walks into a bar. That's right. That was very nice. Very nice. Hey, so we got a new listener. His name is Tony. He says he's likely not Guilford County listener number 1, because I don't think he is. I think, because I already know at least a couple other people in Guilford County that have been listening. But hey, he's been listening. Spotify had sent him some episodes to listen to. He and I used to go four-wheeling a lot down at the Uwharrie National Forest. And he says, well, when he goes four-wheeling, he has me on. He says, so even though I'm not there, I'm there. Nice. So thanks, Tony. Thanks for listening. He liked us and subscribed us. It might be his first digital subscription. He doesn't know what to expect. And quite frankly, Tony, neither do we.
So on the top secret line, Lisa always calls in, our listener in the mountains, and we discuss the episodes. She always has good follow-up stories. Our listener down in Alabama, Chris, has also offered us his cousin's husband is a vet that has seen snakes and rodents and birds. So we were talking about that on a recent episode.
174, see you in the spring.
That's where we were burying turtles. Chris also asked if the trip I was referring to, or almost froze to death, was a trip with him, because we also had a very cold trip.
Yeah.
But the trip I was referring to was actually one where I was sleeping in a Kmart sleeping bag, which is about a half-season bag.
Yeah, it's that one probably you could sleep in the summer.
Oh, yeah. You could sleep in it fully clothed in summer and would be fine. Yeah. In addition, I mentioned that Lisa, we discussed the episodes. She also wrote in about the Death of a Pillman episode. And just what we're talking about, we're going to probably need less and less pharmacists as time goes on. She also had some things to say about we talked about flying an ultralight.
When did we do that?
I don't remember. We did talk about it. And I think it was a comment in one of the episodes. You said that you could fly, I wanted to fly an ultralight.
I wanted to fly it and I could land it.
The episode was the one about the submarine.
Oh, okay. Right.
And she had written in, just talking about that. These things were not safe because he went into a spiral. A friend that she knew went into a spiral and actually died in a ultralight.
Yeah. Okay. And John Denver was messing around changing the fuel from one tank, from the reserve tank to the main tank when he spiraled. And
that's how John. That's right. She included in her letter.
Yeah.
That's how John Denver died, was in an ultralight. And then she also talked about having business, giving gift cards, but then those businesses going out of business. And so what do you do then? which
then
in most cases, there's nothing to do.
that means you have a debit that you can never get back.
Keep the letters coming, keep the emails coming, keep the secret.
Oh, if you want to send a letter, that's great. Don't also, episode 174, see you in the spring.
Oh, the turtle bearing.
The turtle bearing episode. A couple interesting facts about that one. The first fact is that we figured out at least different. Do you know the difference between we asked the question, the difference between a turtle and a terrapin?
Did somebody answer that?
No, but we answered the difference between a turtle and a tortoise. Did you think about that question?
No. What's the difference?
So I was told by Chuck that a tortoise is land only, where a turtle is water and or land.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's a terrapin?
Well, we still didn't have that answer.
Oh.
We're thinking that a terrapin is a subset of turtle.
Okay.
It's a kind of
I'll take the
turtle.
the Billman effect and believe that one.
And then there's also we have a coworker, and she raises exotic fish. Literally raises them from eggs.
Oh, wow.
Breeds them, gets the eggs.
That's really cool because that keeps it from having to be harvested. So that's great.
Yeah. And she buys her own medicine and administers the medicine to
really cool.
To heal them
Yeah.
in the event they get ill.
Yep. No, that's cool.
I think it might be interesting to invite a vet to talk more about these things.
Well, we've had 2 offered so far. You know somebody, and then our listener in Alabama has offered a vet. So
I think we might need to just take them up on it.
Yeah, just talk about it. It'd probably be interesting just to talk to a vet anyway.
Right.
All the stuff they see.
What's the craziest thing you've seen?
What's the craziest thing?
1 in a million odds, Doc.
All right, it doesn't sound right, but you've come to the end of this mailbag episode.
Hey, we want to thank everyone for listening. Thank you also for sending in those emails, sending in those texts. Brad also sent in a suggestion about vehicle inspections, something that doesn't sound right about vehicle inspections.
Uh-huh.
So we're going to try to get his voice on there so he can actually say it.
Yeah.
Have his voice on there. If you'd like to be heard on our podcast, shoot us a voice memo or a recording of your voice saying, Peter and Cecil, that don't sound right. And then we'll talk about it.
Let's see if it works.
That'd be great. But if this is your first time and enjoyed the conversation, consider hitting the subscribe button on the platform you listen with. Also, if you're a longtime listener, give us a rating, leave us a review so others can easily find us and join the conversation. I noticed we have like 34 ratings now on Apple Podcasts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's
Still
great.
got the bad one, right?
We still have the 1 star. That's right. We can't erase that.
That Don't Sound Right is a production of TDSR Podcast in conjunction with the Kansas City Studios. I am your host and your sound engineer. Peter does your web design and is your other host. Emily does our graphic design. Ella does our IG. Camille is our barista. Brent is our international brand ambassador. Giorgio tests our merchandise. And as always, listener number 1 is Scott. So until next week, keep talking.
And stay curious.